We kind of divvy it out, so when there's a job out open, we'll say, well, I'm a member of, like, I'm on LibRFL, and there's a LibCirc, and I'm on both, and a distance learning services, and there's an assessment one. So there's 4 or 5 that I'm a member of, so I'll post the jobs out there. Talking to people in the field, because I know I get a lot of things coming in through my listservs, and I keep passing them on to Morgan right now, Danielle, when I find something a little closer. So that works. And we also put in the Chronicle of Higher Education, is one of the places that usually the librarian positions will go, because we are library faculty. And so Chronicle of Higher Ed is like the top place for that.
And to jump on with academic, we also use at Washburn Higher Ed Jobs and the ALA job list.
Yeah.
For archives specific jobs, I know there's a blog on WordPress called Archives Gig, and they're very good at, it's one person that does it actually, but she's very good at getting archives jobs from all over the place. And then there's a website or blog, not sure which, called I Need a Library Job, and I think it's done by its initials, INALJ. They list everything, and academic, but also they're pretty good at listing archives jobs as well, I've noticed. And then just, this is not really specific location or a specific blog for job listings, but one that I felt was really helpful for getting information about interviewing was something called That Elusive Archives Job. It's run by the archivist at the University of Alaska, and she really just gives you everything you need to know. So.
Well, for schools, I would say you don't have to have your degree yet. Most of the librarians in my district did not have their degree yet, including me, when they got their job. So there's a provisional certificate that you can get, and so don't be afraid to apply to districts, even though they say they want a library master's or library media certificate. Don't be afraid to apply, because I got my degree, 9 months after I got my job. So
I absolutely agree with that. My current job did require a master's in library science, which I did not have when I applied for it. I was hired in April and got my degree in May. So don't let that hold you back. If you're 4 to 6 months out from graduating, tell them I'm working on it. I do agree with listservs. They're a great place to subscribe to those, look for the jobs that come out on those. And then if you see something that you're like, well, this is not quite the job I want, but that looks like an interesting place to work, you can probably go to that institution's website and kind of keep track of what they have going on. Also, does SLIM have a student Facebook page?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a good place usually that people will post if they're alumni and say, hey, my institution's looking for this job. Someone hired.
We also have a SLIM listserv too that goes out to all our students and whatnot. So I just want to highlight the state organizations. Kansas Library Association has a job page on their Nebraska Libraries Commission has a 4-state. They cover Colorado, Nebraska, Iowa, and Kansas. And I look at that all. I mean, the thing about job searching is you look at it all the time. Even though I'm not looking for a job, I'm still looking at it all the time because I want to know what Sean's paying, or I want to know I want to know what the deal is. So when you start the job searching, it should just be part of your career to continue that through wherever you're at. But Mountain Plains Library Association has a great job site. It's a 12-state regional association. If you're looking at staying in the central part of the United States, but I wouldn't hesitate to go out if you know you're going to move to a certain state or something like that. Go to that state organization, and if they don't have anything on their website, introduce yourself to the president of that state organization through email or give them a telephone call and say, "I'm looking for a job in Oklahoma. What do you know?" And just that personal networking.
You can even, one of the things that, and granted this was 21 years ago,
one of the things that I did, because I had wanted to move back to the Omaha area, this is as close as I got. But and I knew I wanted to be in academic libraries. One of the things that I did was I wrote letters to the deans of the libraries in that area. So letter to Creighton University, University of Nebraska, Omaha, and there may have been some of the smaller schools, and just asked if I could come visit and see their library, and asked if they had any positions open, or if they knew of positions coming up. And several of those, I went up and toured the library, met the dean, and yeah, just did that personal connections, the networking. And we have some graduates all over the place. So, it's just, yeah, some of that. I was trying to think, one of the things that somebody said over here too, with, not necessarily knowing if you're qualified for it. So when I was hired here, it was for a business librarian job. I don't have a background in business, but I talked to one of my professors, and she said, what's it going to hurt? At that point, it was just maybe a 15-cent stamp. I don't remember, 20-cent stamp. She said, you're just going to pay for the photocopies and the stamp. If you think it's somewhere you might want to be, go ahead and apply for it. Worst that's going to happen is you're going to get a rejection letter that says, no, we're not interested. So, and now it's even easier because you can do things through email and electronically. So.
Kayla may, I'm sorry, Rob, go ahead.
No,
She may get to a question that would prompt this answer, but I'm thinking of it now, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. But when we create a job description, we're really creating some parameters that we hope to establish a pool with. And then whatever happens after the pool is established is really the opportunity to get from that resume or CV, those documents, that application packet, to an interview. Because there was an occasion in our library's history not too long ago where we had an education librarian position open, and there were the two finalists. One of them had a master's in education and one of them did not, but the one who did not was such a lively person, and the presentation that he gave was so robust in comparison that we believed that that person would fit our model of what it means to be a librarian and maybe library much better. And so, I mean, even though credentials and qualifications are essential, I think there's a lot of leeway, especially once you start moving through that process and you get into the interview, then it's about you.
Anything more to add on that first one?
Yeah, I just want to add off of Terri and you too, Sean. You just need to lose the fear and ask for whatever you want and expect to get it. Seriously. I mean, if you have to kind of think that way about yourself. If you're looking for a job, you want the best job possible for you. You want it to be a good fit for yourself and for the person that you're working with and for the organization you're working with. So, maybe you're not a business librarian. It means don't be fearful about applying because you're not really sure what that other person is looking for. So just go for them. Don't be restricted by geography or demographics. You can be restricted by salary. But yeah, have expectations when you go into that job search about what you're looking for.
Okay. Next we have, are there specific things we should include in a cover letter?
Well, I can play right off of the answer that I just gave to a question that didn't fit, but that is your ticket to the next step. The vast majority of library applicants are not known to the committee. So how do you get to that next level? It's that packet of information, the cover letter being maybe the first thing. And I don't know how many applicants other libraries get. We have recently closed one, and I think we had somewhere between 25 and 30 applicants. So how do you get into that next 5 or 7 or 8 or whatever it is that we've talked about getting another layer of understanding about? How do you get there? And you're going to want to say, I'm flexible, I'm a team player, but I'm going to tell you a secret. Every one of you is going to say that. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with it, but I want to know you. What is it about you? What thing in your background, what thing in your arsenal of skills and tools and personality development, what gives you that little added bonus? Because that's what's going to be the cue to the committee that this is somebody we want to talk to on the phone, or we want to Skype with, so we can get a little bit more knowledge about.
I do not want to see your resume rewritten in your cover letter.
Right.
I mean, that-
yes.
I mean, that is one thing I see. I've done this, you know, yeah. And so that, you know, I can read your resume, I can read your CV, but I want to see, you know, I want you to be able to stand up in the interview and in 2 minutes tell me why I should hire you.
Well,
And that should come across in that first cover letter.
yeah, and don't have just a blanket cover letter that you send with everything. You want to do your research. If there's a job that you're interested in, write your cover letter to that job. Do some research on wherever you're applying, the public library, the community, the university, the school. Look at their web. I mean, you have more tools available now than I ever had when I applied here. So do your research, find out more about that, and write specifically to that job, to that place.
Here's 2 examples. I noticed on your website, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Or when I was in your library last week,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. I mean, those are 2, I mean, that shows me that you care, you're interested, so.
When I'm on that committee, the first thing I write on my question list is wearing blue blazer, wearing blue tie, or says something that is Washburn University specific, because I know that that person has done her due diligence, that she's done some research. I was on a different committee for not a librarian position last month. It was for a university relations position. And one of the candidates that we interviewed talked about Washburn's history and talked about the reasons that she wanted to be a part of that community. And the other one said, as I was driving around your campus in the 30 minutes I got here before the interview started, I mean, there was a lot of factors that went into who I supported, but I knew who seemed to care more about that position.
I think it's fair to put in your letter what it is that drew you to apply for that job. Say, you know, I've always been interested in whatever it is you're applying for, and start off that way, and then lead into, these are the special skills I have that would make me perfect for this particular job.
I think it's also important to read the job description and figure out what it is that they're asking for, and tailor your cover letter to that if you have experience in that. For example, if this is a job for an archivist who's doing arrangement and description, talk about your archives class when you arranged and described an entire collection. Use that.
Well, even if you don't have experience in it, you can say you're interested in learning more about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to hammer that, read that job description, because we're hiring right now. We just got a cover letter that said, I really love genealogy and blah, blah, blah. Well, that was the prior position, what that person did, but that's not what the job description read. So that person they had just talked to the person that had worked there before, and they hadn't really read the job description, written their cover letter to the job description. So that should mean there was some kind of communication disconnect there.
Yeah.
Well, and I know with university jobs, what we publish in the paper is going to be very short, or what's put out on the job list usually is very short. You need to go back to the university page, and I'm assuming with public libraries too, go back to that library page and find the complete job description listing, because there will be more there.
And when we do a job search, one of us on the committee creates a rubric, and the rubric is driven by those things in the resume. Has MLS in hand, 0 or 1. Years of experience in academic libraries, 0 to 3 years, 1. 3 to 5, 2. So everything that's in that job description that's on our website at Washburn, those things come back into that rubric, and that's another way that we get you to that next level. At the end of the rubric, there's a tally, and it's easy to just look who has 13, 12, 11, and who has 5, 7, and 6.
I have a question on cover letter. Like, what's too long or what's too short? Like, how long do you want that?
1 page.
Yep.
One
Yeah.
page.
Well, but also
1 page.
3 paragraphs. Or
I- you don't want to say, hello, I'm interested in this job, thanks. That's too short. Yeah. But you do want to keep it under 1 page, and you want to be succinct. You don't want to explain every detail of the collection you did. Just say, I did this, and keep it succinct but informative.
Yeah, maybe 3 paragraphs.
So I've got 30 of them. I have a couple of other things to do every day, and so I'm trying to fit that into all these other things, kind of like grading papers. I want to be able to do it in a pretty. I want to do a good job. I want to do due diligence, but I also getting through 30 of them before Monday at 3 o'clock when the meeting occurs. I want to zoom along, and if I start seeing things that aren't really applicable and that really don't draw something out, tease something out about the applicant, I just put it in that pile, so that at the end of my day or 2 days of reading through them, I've got the pile and I've got the rubric.
And we can tell a form letter.
Oh yeah, because they're
From
forms.
personally,
yeah.
you know, so I mean, that's, when you're talking about scanning lots of them.
Yeah.
You know, if there's nothing personal in that cover letter, obviously you've sent this out to 50 other positions.
So you know, when I write you a letter of reference, I start with dear colleagues and then write the letter. I'm not using anything that I wrote in another reference letter ever. I'm talking about you. I assume that you're going to do the same thing. Give me the respect of a new cover letter every time.
I actually yesterday Googled cover letters for librarians, and the first of all, the website had kind of an insult to librarians. Like, you spend all your time reading, you should be able to write.
Oh.
And so then I read the cover letter example. It was awful. Awful. Don't do it. Don't do it. It was awful.
I've been hearing a lot about organizations using algorithms to match terminology and keywording. Do you see libraries doing that more? Is it size specific as far as sophistication of the? I'm curious about how that applies to libraries versus lawyers, that sort of thing. Do you see a lot of that happening now? You guys hire.
That would be a good question for the lady who does PR at Topeka County.
Yes.
You know, I would not hesitate to call her. I can't think of what her name is, but they have a personnel person there that handles HR, and because it would be in a larger library, I would think that they would, where they get 100 applications.
I say, because I know, like what Sean said, every application we get, we read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personally, we don't do it. It's not a computer that's pulling names or keywords out. We sit down. So if we have 40 applicants, we sit down and read every cover letter, every resume from those applicants. And I do the same thing Sean does. I usually have 3 piles. I'll usually have a yes, a maybe, and a definitely no.
But that is a good question. I mean, and I don't, unless it's a huge library, I
have pretty much several jobs to do that.
Right.
Federal, yeah.
And it's all
Yes.
online and web-based.
Yeah.
And they do look at keywords.
So in that sense, I would, make sure you have the keywords for the job description in that cover letter.
Yeah. Know the job you're applying for.
Yeah, and I think also be like very specific. If it says user services librarian, make sure you write user services librarian and not reference librarian in your letter.
Mm-hmm.
So
I guess my biggest thing with cover letters is how personal is too personal, because I see all these things online where they have horrible resumes, first of all, there. But also they're like, well, don't be too personal, but you guys are saying to be personal, maybe?
No, I don't need to know about your
No.
kids.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
We can't
Your
know.
dog, that, I mean, it's more, we want you to know about us and show us that you know about us.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
the kind of connection.
Okay, that makes sense.
And experiences that you've had that are relevant. Like, that's one thing that you're going to be asked should you get to that interview stage. I think most of us are moving toward a behavior or an experience kind of questioning. And so we're going to ask you specifically, tell us about a time when you made a mistake and then what did you learn from it? Or tell us about a time when you were given a set of parameters and you needed to manipulate those parameters in some way to make it work. Tell us about a time when you didn't have copy on the premises and you needed to find a way to get copy for the panel before it started. Tell us about something specific that is relevant to what we're doing.
I was going to say, everything that's covered
I always think of cover letter as being, it is an interpretation of your resume. Let me tell you how to look at this resume. This is what I want you to take from it. This is the way, because resumes can be, pretty bland and not really tell you a lot sometimes. But let me tell you why this resume fits what you need. Cover letter is your chance to make an argument and to think about it as an argument. Let me tell you why I meet your needs. So I mean, in some ways, I mean, think about it. That sounds a little cold, but I mean, think about it like a paper. In some ways, you're writing paper. Let me make points for you, because that is the initial. You're making the initial argument.
Because you're the only person that's going to make a point for you.
Right. Exactly.
I mean,
that's a great point, Michael.
I'm the best person for this job, and here's why.
But it's an argument. I love that idea. I mean, you're graduate students. I mean, you've been writing now for years and years and years. This is your wheelhouse. So make that an essay. Make it an argument that uses you as a thesis. Here's why I belong.
Right. Well, you've listed these things on your resume. Let me tell you why they matter. This is why this matters to you, because I did this. Here's why it's important.
Well, school librarianship is all about collaboration. It is not checking out books. And so if you can give an example of, a collaborative project or program that you've put into place, that needs to be in there.
Do we have to list all of our past experiences on our resume? For example, should we include temporary college jobs?
If they're relevant to the job you're applying for, yes, you should absolutely include them. You don't really have to include anything on your resume that you don't feel is relevant. I mean, people will notice, hey, there's this gap in your work experience if you leave a big gap. But I would say just put in what's relevant to that job and what's relevant to showcasing your skill set.
But I look for gaps.
I do
and
too.
I will ask you, what's the deal?
What'd you do these 3 years?
I mean, where you been, how'd you live? Not how'd you live, but those gaps are very, very telling. So, if you were a volunteer for a public library, if you happen to be a volunteer Girl Scout leader for 3 years, I definitely want to know about that.
Mm-hmm.
That shows me that you work with community, you work with children, you can handle yourself. I mean, all kinds of leadership skills there. So some volunteer stuff, maybe not, but others, if it's relevant to the job, I would definitely include it.
And look for things that you can make relevant. Because I know when I first applied for this job, I was, 24 years old. And so, going back, trying to figure out, I'd worked in the library while I was in graduate school, but prior to that I hadn't. But I delivered mail on campus and I sorted mail. So I had to be responsible for, so I had to manage my own time. So that involved time management. And I had to go around to the different offices on campus. So that involved working with people. I was a lifeguard before that, managed the pool. So that involved management skills because I had a staff underneath me. So look at the pieces that you can pull out from those out. You don't have to tell everything you did, because applying for a library job, they didn't care that I could flush out a filter at a pool or that I don't know.
I care.
I would care. Maybe I can clean the bathroom. I want to care about that. Although if it's a pool bathroom, it's all the library bathroom, probably two different things. But we just use a hose. So, but so I wouldn't have to detail out everything, but those things that I could pull out. I was a swim team coach, so I could work with kids. And I had to direct them, so I could teach them the stroke. Those kinds of things. What would be most important?
We're getting. Just this year, Washburn had a voluntary retirement program, and some people that reached a certain age were given an opportunity to leave with some extra benefits. So we're going to lose somebody next June who has will have had 39 years of experience in our library. So my expectation when we hire somebody is that we have the potential of hiring somebody that's going to be with us for 40 years. That's awesome. I also know that not everybody's going to be there 40 years. Some people are going to, this is an entry-level position that we're going to be opening up. I know that people are going to use this as an opportunity to put some skills together and some experiences and then go on and do your life, wherever your life takes you. But I think that it's important for you in your letter in your resume to let us know why you could be great for us for the next 30 years, because we may have you that long, and we want to be able to bring you on with that expectation. NFL spends millions of dollars on, I just heard the other day from my kid who watches ESPN, and they had the NFL draft apparently. They spend millions of dollars on picking people that are going to be able to play for them. And there's this quarterback for Cleveland, I think, who just didn't pan out. Think about that. We get 5 people in a room, and we talk about it, and we pass our recommendation to the dean. So how are you going to be able to put yourself in a position to be that home run? There's a mixed metaphor, I guess.
It is.
Couple of
Thinking about that too, in academic libraries, a lot of times, like ours, those are faculty positions. So one of the things we look at too is, do you have the skills and the ability to take tenure in 5 or 6 years? Have you done research? So if you've done, like, and I don't know how many of you are getting ready to graduate, how many are still working through, but, we just had the Research and Creativity Forum, or KLA. I'm the past president for the Kansas Library Association. We have every conference, one of our conference, we have poster sessions. Sign up and do those. Get some research out there. Find somebody in the field you can work with. Do some research. If academic is where you want to go, having some research under your belt is a really good thing too, to be able to put in your resume and cover letter.
And you brought up KLA, and I just want to say, if you're interested in Public Library Association, get involved with KLA, get your name out there, get on committees, work the conference, work the situation, because the more we know as library directors what you do on committees, how you function under stress at conference, that type of thing, we're paying attention. We're watching you at conference. We're looking for professionals who can handle that type of situation. So belonging to your professional organization, not just statewide, but again, the MPLA, the 12 State Regional Association, is an awesome one. The 12 State Regional Organization is interested in professional development as opposed to other skills. So again, that's a really good one if you're looking for job searching, because they can really plug you into not just publics, but all libraries. So.
If a job doesn't specifically request a cover letter, should we send one anyway?
Yes.
Yes. It should not be an email. It should be an attachment to the email.
Because as we've said, that's your entry level. That's your key. You have to have something that sets you above all of the other 20, 30 applicants that came in.
Another website that I just thought of is LSSI. I think that's the name of it. It's a company that actually hires librarians and kind of subcontracts them out. That would be another place that if you're interested in working in that type of situation, you could look at that. And they're national. Heavy in California, Tennessee, a couple in Georgia, but that would be another website that give you some options.
I think it's fine if you're emailing too to go ahead and put a couple sentences in that email. Even though my name is, I'm interested in applying for this, and attached find my cover letter and resume.
Because a lot of it is electronic now.
Yes.
They don't send actual letters. So,
What do you think about list of references? Do you like to see those up front?
We ask for them. We ask for a minimum of 3 references up front. So,
And we do too. So I would go ahead, if you're sending that email with the cover letter and the resume, I would go ahead and say list another sheet with your 3 references on it, because that shows me who you know and why you're putting those people down. And it's interesting. It's interesting to see who people put for their references.
and keep those up to date and current, because I know I have a girl who I've known since she was 3 years old contact me the other day and say, would you be a reference for me? And I'm like, I can. However, we haven't been in close contact for 4 years, 3 or 4 years. I'm just a family friend. Isn't there somebody that maybe knows your work history a little bit better, or knows how you operate a little bit better than what I can do? And so really think about who you want to have be your reference, and then make sure that they're going to be a good reference for you, that it's somebody that you may ask and you think they're going to be a great reference, but may not always pan out that way. So make sure that they're going to be able to give you a good reference.
And family friends are wonderful, but that's not necessarily what I'm looking for. I'm not necessarily looking for a reference that's a family friend.
So I have a question related to that. So I'm transitioning careers. I'll be moving from being a high school English teacher to trying to work at maybe an academic librarian or whatever. How much what my references, I feel like from where I've worked for the past 10 years, I think would be good, but they don't necessarily reflect the skills that I'm trying to perhaps reflect. I don't know. And some, I see the connection, but I don't know if someone else would. Should I include like my past department chair, my principal? Those people are okay, even though they're not like
Absolutely.
The professional reference.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You bet.
They're going to be able to talk about, did you show up on time? Did you
Right.
engage
Exactly.
with the students? Did you, were you able to teach? And in academic libraries, those are all things we're looking for, because we're all teaching. We have to form relationships with faculty and students across campus. So they're going to be able to speak to that. Management, how well you were able to manage your time, how you were able to manage your classroom.
So you're going from a high school English teacher to academic?
Here's hoping. Yeah.
Are you here in Emporia?
I just graduated. Yeah, in December.
So, but you live here?
No, I live in Kansas City Metro.
Because Carmaine Turnus, the high school librarian, went from high school English teacher to school media specialist, and has been, so she might be somebody that could give you some. Her name's Carmaine Turnus. I would contact her and just tell her what you're doing and say, do you have any hints for me or anything?
Okay,
Yeah. Good luck.
These are actually all of my listed questions. So if there's anything you want to bring up, or if you want to ask them, or if they want to ask you, it is now open.
Well, it's back to yours again. In academic libraries, as I said, we're looking for people that can teach.
Yes.
Because many of us have not had any teaching, but many faculty on campuses don't have any teaching background. We have the subject knowledge and the expertise, but teaching is a big part of what we do now. And it's funny because I became a librarian so I didn't have to teach, or because I didn't want to be a teacher. Well, now I'm teaching and I love it. So.
And we've always taught in some way.
Right.
I mean, that whole bibliographic instruction, we used to call it, at the desk. I mean, that was really the classic model of, I will tell you what to do, I will work with you as we learn how to do it together, and then I will let you do it while I nod positively. Just make that about 27 people, or 19, or 35, or whatever the number is in that institution, because it's what we've always done. We're just seeing it in a different way.
Well, a big part of our jobs at the high school is preparing students for college. So you have that expertise of, what's coming, what do they need to know? What do they know? So you have that expertise. And so, yeah, totally capitalize on that.
We live in a knowledge society.
Yeah.
And our job is to assure that the citizens that we serve are able to understand that there's a conversation going on, and information is the coin of the realm, is a commodity in this knowledge society. And as librarians, you will be asked in any of these environments to do that exact thing, to help the people that you serve, whether they're attorneys or whether they're students and faculty or whether they're the public at large. Use information, learn how to find information in this sea of overwhelming information overload, and be able to evaluate that information in a way that determines some credibility, so that they can make good decisions about their employment, about their families, about their lives in general. And in a class, my very last semester, Dr. Rockleitner was talking about the global information infrastructure, and I said something, because I think I'm a funny guy. I said, thank you, Terri.
We all know.
Please, feel free to laugh. But I said, it sounds to me like librarians are the professionals that are the difference between success or the inability to succeed in society in the 21st century. And he said, "You are not so far off, Mr. Bird." And I've taken that to heart. That's what we do. We are the difference between success and whatever it is that isn't quite that in all of our environments. And so long as we take what we do seriously, we don't have to take ourselves seriously. So long as we take what we do seriously, then I think we'll live up to what we've been asked to do. How do we get you into a position to do that? Blanket the market. If you have time, spend an hour a day. I tell first-year students, or I tell seniors in high school this too. Look at all the scholarships that are available. I mean, you know how to use Google, I believe. So go ahead and just look for everything that's out there and then blanket it. You're going to learn as you go. You're going to make mistakes. Good, because that's how we learn. And you're going to find yourself in a position where you're narrowing your interests. You're narrowing your search. You're putting yourself in a position to get the job that fits you the best. And you're getting into a position where you're able to articulate who you are as effectively as you can.
I've got one practical thing. Have somebody else maybe read over your stuff too, or make sure that you have no typos or misspellings, because those jump out at me like you wouldn't believe. We were at hand it to somebody else or do something.
Put it in that pile that's probably not going to get to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, over spring break, we were down at a museum down in Phoenix, Arizona. It was an airplane museum, and I was like, "Oh, there's a typo there. There's a typo there." And my daughter's like, "It's just a volunteer museum." And I said, "I know, but they need to be doing quality work for their exhibits."
You want to volunteer, don't you, Terri?
Yeah,
I do too. I'll look over your menu before you give it to 150 people.
Yeah, new Chinese restaurant just opened. They have, I don't know how many misspellings on their menu, and I said they should have had somebody. The new Chinese one just right here. Yeah, there was Ru Yi. Yeah, they have, I don't know how many misspellings on their menu, and I'm thinking you should have run it by an American or somebody that spells first.
Librarian.
Before you publish it. They just jump out. The other thing I thought about too is when we talked about researching the university or the public library, also research the community. Because I'm thinking back a couple searches ago, we had somebody come in from Michigan, and at lunch I asked her, I said, "So how's it going?" She said, "I didn't think it'd be so small." I was like, "What, the university, the town?" You have Google, you have maps, Wikipedia, whatever. Look to see, how big the community is, how big the university is. Because, I mean, her husband was like a nuclear physicist. Obviously, he was not going to be working in Emporia, Kansas. Possibly at Wolf Creek up the road, I don't know, but not in Emporia, Kansas. So, that's one of the things to look at too. What does the community like? What size is it? Look at the Chamber of Commerce things. See what businesses are there. Just really get a sense of where it is that you're looking.
Back in the day, another thing that used to be something that would set, you in one pile versus another was what kind of paper you used to print the letter on and that sort of thing. Obviously, that's not an issue anymore with email and that sort of thing.
Oh, it kind of still is.
Don't use Comic Sans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see a flower border on the side of your page. For a while, it was like really colorful. But evidently, they were saying put color in your
To get you to stand up.
your resume. Some people may like that.
We've all got color printers now.
Yeah. I mean, so
It's not standing out.
My thought while I was coming up was, do I need to still print it out on good paper, scan that so that it looks that quality?
No.
I'm not hearing that.
No, just type it up in Word and save it. Make it look nice and.
Right, you don't really want to copy it at all because probably at some point someone will do a control F and want to search through your resume for different things. So it's not a Word doc. I can't do that.
Word does have templates that it kind of guides through, but some of them are kind of gaudy, so don't use those.
don't send it in a format that isn't standard.
Right,
yes.
Don't scan
No
it and
pages.
send it as
No
each
pages.
individual page as a scan, so I've had to print 13 pages.
Well, if you want the formatting to say standard, save it as a
I
PDF.
was gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because most anybody
That's
can
what
open
we
a
asked
PDF.
for. Yeah.
So.
Don't make the format unique. Tell us why you are unique. Make the content unique.
That was admittedly a window dressing question.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I ask students to put a cover letter, or not a cover letter, a title page on their papers. Yeah, I don't want this fancy title page with these lines and flowers and everything all over it. I just want the APA style with the name of the class, my name, and the date. You know, so yeah. I mean, you can put some lines and things in there, but just don't make that overshadow what you're trying to do.
That's a great point, Terry, because the reason the APA does that is for consistency, so that everybody's paper looks the same, and then we can determine the credibility of the content, the argument that's being made. And we're doing the same thing. We want you to stand out as a person based on what you can say about yourself, not about the format being a little bit goofy.
Something else, just jumping in here. One of the recommendations I got when I was working at the National Archives was to quantify my work as much as possible. And this may be a little more directed towards archives, but I think it works across the board. I did X amount of story times. I taught X amount of classes. I taught, instead of saying, I've taught classes. Just trying to find ways to quantify that work. Because I think that's one thing that, as I'm looking at things, helps people stand out. I processed 10 collections that were this size. Instead of saying I processed collection one, trying to find ways that very clearly articulate that work that you're doing concisely. As a recommendation I had, I think it's a good one.
Well, I think Sean kind of mentioned this too, or it's come up. We're looking for team players, but we're also looking for people that can think independently. So if there's projects that even if they're course projects, maybe you took the lead on it, or things that you worked on, or if you've got work experience, talk about those. I mean, I'm thinking of like Morgan. I've had her doing our story times for a year now, where she's been coordinating and planning. That would be something she's going to want to highlight if it's a library job that fits that. If not, it may be I coordinated and planned several programs, because that would fit public libraries, it could fit academics. So yeah, look at those different things. And also, if you've been a part of a team, I know you guys are always doing group projects. Look at those. If you don't have the experience of working with the team, look at those projects and maybe think of the roles, because those are some questions that are going to come up also in the interview too, is have you worked on a team? What role did you play in that team situation?
And I like to hear about the practicum too. If you've just done your practicum in the last year, do you think it's relevant? I would throw that in there as well. And this may be jumping the gun, but I just want to say that you're going to get rejected. So expect to get letters back that say no thank you. Jobs that you think you would be perfect for and that you think you would be a good fit, you will be rejected. And it's just part of being out there and searching. It's just part of career. So don't let it get you down. Just know that there's something better coming down the pipe, because I'm telling you what, it works.
And just real quickly, if you are not in class now, or you still are in class and you can find the time, become a volunteer. I mean, you're not giving that away. We're giving back to our library community right now. I mean, at this point in our careers, 3 decades of being a librarian, she's here today for you, and you're doing something positively. But by the same token, there's a little piece you can take away on that CV or that resume. You can say, I spent 6 months working at X library doing this. Real life experience.
Well, even just go visit. I mean, I love to have people come visit
Oh,
the
yeah.
library. So go visit academic libraries or law libraries or archives or whatever you're interested in. Go visit. See what they're doing. See what it's all about.
Last June, I had a sabbatical, and I went to 25 libraries in Oklahoma, and I cold called them. And in every one, somebody in that library said, hey, let's take a tour. Hey, let me show you what we're doing. Let me get you connected to this person. I came back with a wealth of experience, but pockets full of business cards and phone numbers and emails.
Great. I'm going to cut it off there so we can take a 10-minute break until our next panel. So thank you.
Thank you.